Have you ever had the experience where you're on the internet and you discover a new genre of music and you're just like, wow, that's amazing, I want to make that. And so you open up your DAW and you try making it and it's just an absolute dumpster fire. Well, me neither. But just in case that never happens to you, I've decided to make a little tutorial here. So, doom music, right? You know, it's the crazy blood pumping, demon killing stuff that just makes you want to get into a fight. I think a lot of people underestimate doom music and its simplicity, because there's actually a lot of stuff that is happening in the background that gets overlooked when you think about doom music as you normally hear it. So I think we're going to start where I believe every doom tutorial should start, which is in the guitars. Now, the guitars on a doom song, you just want to come up with a nice metal sounding riff that just really, gets you going, just really riles you up. So in this case, I have this that I recorded. It's just a little thing I wrote on my guitar. I put it into drop D tuning and then used a Digitech whammy pedal to tune it down even more by a whole fifth. And then I just messed around on there. I could put tabs in the description if you wanted them. But it's a pretty simple riff anyway. And really, that's all you have to do. If you don't own a guitar, there are plenty of digital guitar plugins you can get. So you don't need to get too complicated with it. As for the recording side of it, you actually want to record it twice. You want to record one that you will pan hard left and one that you're going to pan hard right. And what this does is it actually gives it a much fuller sound. So if I played one of these, let's just isolate the right ear one. We'll just play the right ear alone. Now let's compare that to if we played the right ear and the left ear and one in each ear. It really makes a difference. If you're listening to it on like a phone or an iPad, you might not be able to hear the difference, but if you're wearing headphones or if you have like good monitors, you're definitely going to feel a difference in those two examples. And so, bullet points for guitar. Make sure that you just write a simple but heavy guitar riff. Make sure to record it twice. Put one in each ear. And then for effects, you can pretty much just, add a pedal board with some distortion pedals and an amp. You could use a digital amp for like lots of overdrive and stuff. I'm actually just using a stock preset that Logic has. Logic has a lot of great preset amp setups. I'm using the one Turbo Metal, so if you use Logic, then you can go for that one. But honestly, there's a bunch of other ones in here that would be just as good for making doom music. So next, I think, on the list is we're going to talk about the Doom synthesizer. Now, Mick Gordon has an amazing video on this particular synthesizer that we're going to look at right now. He talks about it at the GDC convention. I'll put the link in the description. It's a very informative video, and it's basically where I learned everything to make, this whole song from. What it is, in essence, is he took a sine wave. So I'm just using ES2. It's one of Logic's stock synthesizers. Works very well. And for some reason I didn't turn off this oscillator, but I put it all in oscillator 2. And it's just a sine wave. Just a sine wave. I opened the filter up all the way, and then I didn't touch anything else. So it's a very simple sounding sine wave. And if I turn off all the plugins here, you'll hear that this sound is just a sine wave. There's nothing significant about it, but when we turn everything on, it just gets absolutely insane. And this is because Mick Gordon created an actual analog pedal board, like a massive one, and he ran sine waves through it to get just the craziest sounds. And I did this digitally. I did my own digital version, and it sounds like this. Crazy. It's really cool stuff. But I'm going to walk you through the signal chain. So no matter what DAW you use, you can have at least a good idea on how to get a sound similar to that. So you're going to want to get a sine wave, first of all, and come up with the arpeggio you want. It's good to have the thing written first and put into like a MIDI file so that you can like play it in the background as you're adjusting the settings, so you can kind of, figure out what sounds good rather than like coming up with all this and then, putting in your MIDI file and writing it and realizing you don't like how the synthesizer sounds. So come up with this first and then just kind of play it on loop as you tweak the settings. Because it would kind of suck if you did all this work and realized you didn't like it as soon as you finished. So first of all, I have this little ensemble plugin. This basically just makes it sound like there are multiple sine waves. I have the output mix pretty low because with things like the ensemble and the chorus and the flanger that I have, you don't want to have them too prominent. Otherwise, they'll kind of be distracting. They're just there to add a little bit of extra body and fullness to the sound. So I like to throw a few of these in at different points in the signal chain, but usually not too late. You want to put them in pretty early. Next, I have a clip distortion, which I turned off, and I'll explain why in a second. This is a filter that I'll put that cutoff to 80 because I'm OCD, that I just distorted really heavy. It's just a filter with tons of drive on it, because you want to, like clip that sine wave into oblivion. Next, it's chorus, which is just only at 15% mix. You want to keep it pretty low. A compressor to make sure I'm not blowing out my speakers and to help, keep the sounding, nice and compressed. Flange, add a little more body. Once again, very low mix, only 11%. I found if I put it much further than that, you would start to hear it and it would get kind of distracting. Next is the pedal board. Now, the pedal board is where all the magic happens. Logic has an amazing pedal that you can use called Grit. It, like all the other pedals, pale in comparison to like the sheer amount of power that Grit has. Not even like the distortion plugin at like max clipping can deliver the amount of just complete insanity that Grit can. So I have another chorus, to give it more craziness, some light distortion. It's being run through Grit, then compressed because Grit makes it so loud. I have a splitter here so that I have this extra weird like effects thing. Some of these are turned off because I didn't like them. More Grit, more compression, and then I mixed them back in. And then at the end I have another chorus to kind of fill it out more. So without the pedal board, it would sound like this. Turn on the pedal board, and we get... So you can see how much those pedals are doing. And then I just have a little EQ here. This one is just to cut out some of the major high ends, because if you don't do that, it gets pretty hard on the ears. And then this second one is actually for doing like EQ sweeps, so like controlling the high cut, and that's more for effects. Then I have a multipressor, which would be like OTT if you have more money than me. I'm just cutting down some of the highs and the low mids, and I'm bringing up the bass and the high mids. Don't ask me why I did it. I just messed around until I thought it sounded good. And then some gain for, because the compression does kind of end up making it kind of quiet. So turning that up all the way till I get it to a point, in my mixing where I like it. And that is basically how you make it. Next, I think we need to talk about this lead. I will be completely honest. I totally stole the idea for this lead from The Only Thing They Fear Is You. It's literally just the lead from The Only Thing They Fear Is You. I figured out how to make it, and it's really not that hard. I use the same stock synthesizer. You don't need to buy a bunch of expensive plugins. I'm serious. Like, most of your stock stuff is really good if you just learn how to use it. All I did to make this, okay, is I took 3 sawtooth waves. I didn't touch anything else. I just put them to sawtooth waves, which it opens up naturally as. I detuned them by about 33 cents each. And then I set the glide to like 60 milliseconds. And then I like opened the filter a little bit to like give it some extra bite. Then compressed it, put some chorus on it, 2 different reverbs, because I wanted one to like give me a lot of extra reverbness, but not a whole lot of decay time. Kind of fill it out more. Something I noticed Dylan Brady doing. And then a second one with longer decay, but slightly less mix. Don't ask me why I chose to do that. I just thought it sounded cool. Some flange, give it body, compression. This one is for sidechain, or I think the other one is for sidechain. Yeah, other one is for sidechain. More gain and just a little bit of EQ. I don't know why that is doing that. Okay, whatever. Sounds pretty cool. Next, I think it would behoove me to explain my methodology on the drums here. So, I have this cool drum beat that I made. Pretty neat. What's going on here is that in the Doom soundtrack, I think you may have noticed that Mick Gordon actually uses a combination of an acoustic and metal drum kit. So if we just wanted to listen to the acoustic drum kit, that would sound kind of like that. And if we wanted to just listen to the electric one, it would sound like that. Pretty standard for each, genre stereotype. But when you put them together, it creates a very good effect. The reasoning behind this is that you create, a very stereotypical metal drum beat. You want to keep it pretty simple. Use the kick drum to like roll into things like I have going on here. That's actually pretty fast. And then you want to use the electronic kit to accentuate the strong beats. So, your metal one is just your typical metal beat, but your electric kit is accentuating all your stronger beats that you want to be accented. So in this case, it's mostly going to be your kick that is doing the work. I have the snare layered with the metal snare. And then I also have this little blip laser noise that I just kind of made once again with ES2, my favorite stock synthesizer, I guess. And I bounced it into an audio file and messed around with it for a while until I thought it sounded cool. And yeah, it's just a little blip noise I made. I layer that onto every electro snare and onto occasionally other things. It just adds a nice little bit of spice to everything. That's the drums. You don't have to do anything too fancy. Just make sure you're layering electronic and acoustic drum kits. Okay, so now we need to talk about the more complicated stuff that is happening here. It's not more complicated, but a lot of people don't realize it's happening. The guitars are not the only thing that is playing the main riff. In like most Doom music, it is layered. There are layers. It's like a lasagna. You can't have a good lasagna without layers, just like you can't have a good Doom riff without layers. So if we just played the guitar and we didn't play anything else in the song, you would actually like it would sound cool, but it just wouldn't make you want to fight someone. Yeah. It just lacks that extra something. And how do you get that extra something? Layers. That's right. You gotta put extra stuff on it. So what I did is I took this synth. I have 2 different tracks of it. I use them at different times because they're mixed slightly differently. And I'm using this first one here, and I'm layering that main riff along with it. So now if we listen, there's a little extra something, and you can hear it because now that is going along with it. And now I have this bass, which is, I'm going to be completely honest with you guys, it's literally just like Logic's stock monster bass. It's a really good one to layer underneath like distorted guitar for some reason. I just EQ'd it out at 7K hertz because that's a good spot to EQ out like bass. And then I layered that with the guitar too. So now we have already sounding way cooler. And lastly, I have this little weird thing, and I don't really know what this noise is. I just like messed around in Alchemy synthesizer with a bunch of different waveforms until I found something I liked. And it's just, once again, a little bit of extra something. I kind of like that it has that weird moving, drifting, flangey feel to it. I like it. All together, with the drums and with everything, we now have So in a nutshell, that is how I make doom music. That's how I approach it. If you have any questions about it, let me know. I'm sure this was not the most amazing or comprehensive tutorial out there, but I just kind of thought I'd share my thoughts because, you know, it's something I'm pretty passionate about. I enjoy it. But yeah, if you enjoyed it, leave a like. I don't know, maybe subscribe. I'm not doing YouTube as a career. I just thought this would be fun. Anyway, I'll play the full song at the end. See ya.